Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kylie. I'm an author, tuber, audiobook narrator, voice actress, and professional nerd. Today we are going to be looking at audiobook sessions number 2, part 1 for authors. So let's get started. So congratulations, your book is ready to be published, but you're thinking you want to put it in audio and you're wondering, how do I start? This video is going to set the groundwork for what you need to do to get your book put into audio. So in the overview, we touched on how the audiobook world is growing, audiobooks are in demand, and we touched over several things that we are going to now deep dive into. We talked about how it's a fabulous extra avenue of income and it gives the reader something really special to have of your book. As an author, audiobooks can seem very daunting to put together, to produce, to create. I totally get it, but it's a lot more streamlined and easier than you may think. So let's look at some basic questions that you need to ask yourself when looking at getting into audio. What is the right platform for my audio? What are the payment options for my narrators? How much can I spend on my audio? The budget. How do I choose my narrators? What's my part in the process? And how do I market my audiobook for the best return? So let's take a look at the different platforms first. There are several publishing options for audiobooks, as well as production houses, publishing houses, different audio producers, all of that stuff. So this is not an exhaustive list. This is a list of publishing houses and production companies that I have worked with or heard about. Now, the most common platform for authors to go to when they want to retain their own rights, to keep their rights to do their own audiobook themselves, will be acx.com. It is Audible's platform. You can choose from a variety of narrators on there. There's a variety of price ranges to choose from, and you keep full control of the process. You and the narrators create a working relationship throughout the process directly, and it also protects you as the rights holder and also protects the narrators. So ACX is a very good, solid contract, and everything that goes through ACX is really kosher. So what if a production company offers to buy your rights? You can agree and sign, you probably will get an advance. You have established narrators at the ready. You probably will get a preference to be able to say, hey, I would like so-and-so to work on my book. And if they're available, you probably will be able to book that narrator. But the production company produces everything and they're in charge more than likely of the timeline and the release dates, unless you have something specific in contract that's worked out. So your budget is all dependent on what you can spend and what you want to spend on your audiobook. And that is important. Knowing how much you have and how much you're willing to spend on your audiobook will really give you a good framework for how high of a narration cost you can have versus if you wanted to keep a low overhead. So what are your payment options? The fun stuff. The first option is pay per finished hour. So per finished hour is abbreviated as PFH. And basically you pay your narrator for the finished hour time on your audiobook. For example, bestseller number 1 is 5 hours long and your narrator have agreed to a per finished hour price of $100. You will pay your narrator $500 at the end when it comes to 5 hours. So basically a 5-hour audiobook might not seem to be that much. However, it will take your narrator about 7 to 8 hours to probably really sit down and work that audiobook and record it. We use something called punch audio in this industry, where if you flub a line, you will back the audio up to the line before that. You will let it roll in. It's actually called punch roll. and then you will pick up and the recording will continue on recording with that past the flub. So that totally gets taken care of, and you don't have to worry about going back and cutting things in post. Or you could just do the click method, and you could click, make a spike in the audio, and then in your post-production, you just go back and do a scrub of all those doubles. It depends on what you want to do, it depends on how fast you work, and it depends on how much time you have as a narrator. Now, that narrator, if they are doing post, will have to go back and edit the entirety of the book. And that will probably take about 7 to 10 hours, 6 to 7 hours again. So what you see as a 5-hour finished product actually has had close to like 12 to 15 hours put into it from recording side and post-production side. And that's why some of the pay structures are set up the way that they are, because narrators have to think about how much their time is worth, and they know that they're only getting paid $100 per finished hour for an audiobook. In that $100, they have to also configure how much their time for post-production is worth if they are going to be the ones doing the post-production. That's just a thing to keep in mind. It's not as cut and dry, just 5 hours, slam bam, thank you ma'am. There is post-production that goes into this process as well. Royalty share, which is a 50-50 split. So you and your narrators are co-owners of the audiobook. So for example, Bestseller 2 makes $1,000. Audible will take their percentage out, and that percentage left over, you and your narrator will split the remaining royalties. So ACX has a very specific royalty structure. ACX authors and publishers can earn between 20 to 40% in royalty. Non-exclusive, I believe, is 25%, which means your audiobook is distributed to more than just Amazon, Audible, and iTunes. It's distributed to like Google Play and things like that. Exclusive, you earn 40%, which is just Audible, iTunes, and Amazon. And then with the 50-50 split, 20%. And ACX will also allow you to earn bounties on your royalties on your titles. So if you sell X amount, you get an extra $50 for that bounty. I will leave a link down below so that you can go directly to ACX themselves to see the different royalty breakdowns and the different payment options. Now there is something called a Royalty Share Plus, which is kind of nice for your narrator / producer, because you can pay the royalty share, so you share the audiobook, but you also give a stipend amount for the producer. So for example, you have a 50-50 split, but you pay $200 for the time spent on post-production and editing to the narrator or the producer. So they're not out time in editing or post. They get a little bit of something when the product is finished for their time. Now you can also do payment plans. If you are not working on ACX platform, or if you are, there are sometimes circumstances beyond our control that you have to work out payment plans with certain narrators or producers. So for example, you owe $1,500 and the narrator agrees to be paid $300 every 2 weeks or so while the production is going on. That way at the end you don't have a huge lump sum to pay. You can kind of like pay it as you go. This, like I said, cuts down the lump sum cost, and I highly recommend that you get this in writing. Make a good boilerplate contract for it. Always get everything in writing. And ACX has a very good standard contract, as do many publishing houses, narrators, and producers. I would highly suggest that you use the ACX contract over anything else, but if you need to do something extra, like a payment plan, get everything in writing. You have to have a contract for it. That way you and your narrator know where you stand, and you just want to have the legalities in place for the God forbid moments. So why do some narrators cost more than others? So on ACX, you will see Royalty Share Plus, $0 to $50, $50 to $100, $100 to $200, $200 to $400, and $400 to $1,000. So what's the difference? Why are there so many different price ranges that narrators can set for themselves? Well, it goes into level of experience that the narrator has, their personal price set based on that experience and time that it takes them for that book. Are they doing it part-time as a supplemental income, or are they doing this full-time as a full-time gig? That has a lot to do with it. Popular voices also create more of a draw. They have their own fan bases. They have their own following. They have people who one-click them no matter who the author is. And we will get more on that in the marketing, but that is very important to know if your narrator has a very strong following. The narrators and the producers do deserve to be paid for what they're worth. I come from the nerddom, so I'm very used to seeing commission artists being asked to do commission work for like pennies, whether it be art, cosplay, wigs, anything, cover art. It's crazy. People deserve to be paid what they are worth. And you want to get somebody who knows what they're worth, who are honest about what they are worth. You're going to get your bang for your buck. So all of those have to come into play when you're thinking about picking a narrator and the price point that you want to go with. So that is audiobook session 2 for authors, part 1. In audiobook sessions, part 3 for authors, part 2, we're going to be talking about how you choose your narrator, what's your part in the process once you have your narrator set to work, and what you do post-production marketing wise. So if you like this kind of content, please click a like, give me a subscribe. I am very hopeful that this is a resource that you find helpful. Any and all comments or questions that you have down below, please feel free to ask them. This is just based on my experience as a professional narrator for audiobooks over the last 5.5, 6 years doing this full time. And I can only give my perspective on it. Some authors and some production companies might do things a little bit differently. And I do plan on bringing some production/casting people and even some other narrators into interviews so that you can all get a very good idea of this industry and the breadth that there is to it. It's a big industry with a lot of pieces that work together. And I just hope that I am helping to shed a little bit of light on the inside scoop of what we do to bring audiobooks to life. So from me to you guys, until the next time, one love.